he destroyed the secretary in seconds, exposing the hidden abuse of power, the reckless misuse of the military, and the dangerous incompetence this administration hoped nobody would notice. Watch closely, because what you're about to see is a senior Pentagon official cornered, exposed, and unable to escape his own record.
I recognize the gentleman from California, Mr. Cisneros.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, so many topics to cover. I represent California's 31st District, located in Southern California, where you've deployed the National Guard and Marine Combat Battalion in an effort by this administration to provoke a confrontation. God only knows for what reason. As my colleague from Tennessee mentioned, the military has been activated before by the president, but let's tell the whole story. President Johnson federalized the troops after the governor of Alabama activated them to keep black students out of the University of Alabama. President Johnson did it so the students could attend the university. He did it for the right reason. He corrected a wrong. California did not ask the president for help, and the presence of the military is an effort by this administration to intimidate and incite fear and violence amongst its citizens. You failed at ensuring basic operational security by sharing classified data over an unclassified network. This was blatant, lazy, and put service members' lives at risk. And knowing that your office is a SCIF, I hope you are not bringing in your devices, your personal cell phone, or even your work phone, because that's not supposed to be in there either, right, your cell phone, into your office to send these signal chat texts. Your blatant lack of basic OPSEC would have gotten you forced you to resign from any other administration. You're requiring 8% cuts across all services, not to save the taxpayers money, but to fund President Trump's pet projects. You talk about quality of life for our service members, but yet you take $1 billion away from the Army that was meant to improve their barracks and their living. You said that money waste, but we don't know that yet because we haven't seen a budget. If the president has projects he wants funding for, you need to come before this body and provide reasoning, not just shift money around. Right now, you are stealing from our service members, robbing Peter to pay Paul. Now you have repeatedly said that you will judge every individual on their merit. Is that true?
Unlike the previous administration,
You will
yes,
judge
we are focusing
simple yes
on,
or no.
for our service
Judge
members,
everybody
how
on their
good they
merit.
are at their job, yes.
But yet you are separating thousands of service members who are performing and doing their job at a high level. They are being separated not based on merit. You know, some of them have been recommended for early promotion and have gotten awards and are doing a great job, but you are separating for no other reason, and frankly, I think you just don't like them. And you are classifying many of them as a national security threat, which is simply not true. You asked the Secretary of the Navy to change the name of the ship, because Harvey Milk didn't meet your definition of warrior ethos. If a Korean War veteran and a Navy diver who gave his life for standing up for his beliefs doesn't meet your definition, I don't know what will. You keep talking about recruiting, but let's face the facts here, right? Recruiting started improving before President Trump even came into office, and the reason that changed was because of the investment that was put into recruiting. Now, I was at the Pentagon at the time, and I know how much we invested in it, and I know how much of the services. And when you take away that investment, you're going to get exactly what happened in President Trump's first administration. In 2019, we had the same recruiting crisis that, back in 2019 when he was president the first time. You continue to attack diversity, but I have always said diversity is about creating opportunity. And I have seen plenty of individuals, many of them enlisted members, who when given the opportunity have succeeded not because of their sex, not because of color, not because of their sexual identity, but because of their worth ethic and merit. Mr. Secretary, when using your definition of DEI, I think there's only one individual at the Pentagon right now who got his job based on that merit, and that is you, and you got it because of sucking up to your boss. And with that,
What you just witnessed was a devastating dismantling of a defense secretary who walked into the hearing room expecting soft questions and walked out carrying the weight of his own failures. This wasn't political theater. It was a systematic takedown exposing misuse of military power, reckless operational behavior, and a pattern of retaliation and discrimination that no functioning system should ever tolerate. The congressman laid out a truth that institutions often try to bury. Powerful people count on public confusion to shield them from accountability. But today, layer by layer, that shield cracked. First, he exposed the deliberate deployment of National Guard units and Marine combat forces into peaceful communities that never asked for them. Not for public safety, not for emergency support, but for political intimidation, using active duty service members as props to provoke fear. That alone would alarm any democracy. But then came the operational security failures, and this is where the gravity became undeniable. A Secretary of Defense, the one person expected to model discipline, shared classified details over an unsecured network. Any junior enlisted soldier who did that would be court-martialed, discharged, and probably escorted off base. Yet he sat there insisting it was nothing, relying on the institution's instinct to protect its own. And that's the systemic issue at the heart of this hearing. When those at the top violate rules, the system bends to accommodate them, while ordinary service members pay the price. The financial mismanagement made the picture even darker. Billions ripped away from barracks, living facilities, family support, all to fund political stunts and vanity projects. $1 billion jet retrofit, a $40 million parade, tens of millions set aside for domestic military operations that serve no strategic purpose. Meanwhile, the people actually wearing the uniform sleep in moldy barracks and shower in broken facilities. So who are the real victims here? The service members whose quality of life is sacrificed for presidential ego. The communities turned into stages for militarized political theater. The taxpayers funding projects they never approved. And then came perhaps the most disturbing part. The purging of thousands of service members for reasons that looked less like national security and more like personal prejudice. People recommended for early promotion, people with clean records, people performing at a high level, people separated not for misconduct, but because the secretary simply didn't like them. This is how abuse of power metastasizes, quietly, internally, without headlines. And yet today it all spilled into public view. What does it say when a Secretary of Defense fires a war hero because he doesn't meet his warrior ethos? What does it say when diversity, which has always strengthened the military, becomes treated like a threat? What does it say when the only person in the building who fits the Secretary's own merit criteria is himself? No one is above the Constitution. No one is above accountability. And certainly no one entrusted with commanding the armed forces should weaponize that power against their own people. If hearings like this prove anything, it's that democracy relies on those willing to stand up, call out corruption, and refuse to let power hide behind uniforms and slogans. Share this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay loud. Because silence is exactly what corruption depends on. He destroyed the secretary in seconds, exposing the hidden abuse of power, the reckless misuse of the military, and the dangerous incompetence this administration hoped nobody would notice. Watch closely, because what you're about to see is a senior Pentagon official cornered, exposed, and unable to escape his own record.